Welcome to the March to a Million podcast with Greg DuPont, founder of the Wealth Solutions Network. In this podcast, Greg shares his journey to positively impact 1 million lives by creating an army of financially minded attorneys who embrace an expanded role in their clients' lives. Greg and his guests challenge the status quo in the legal profession and the financial services industry, and show attorneys how they can improve their lives, provide greater value to their clients, and experience greater professional satisfaction. Join us in this movement and strengthen your business by learning how to solve your clients' most pressing financial problems.
Hello and welcome to another March to a Million podcast with your host, Greg DuPont. Today we have Ali Katz, CEO and founder of Eyes Wide Open Collective. And you guys are going to be diving into a whole bunch of super stuff today. So Greg, take it away.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, Ali. So glad to see you here today on my podcast. I'm looking forward to our conversation. First, you and I got to know each other a little bit over the last couple of years, and you've gone through a lot of transitions. And what I wanted to talk about today specifically was our shared view of the role that attorneys need to be playing in their clients' lives moving forward. So if you could just take a moment, we'll settle a context on who Ali is, what New Law is all about, and what the Eyes Wide Open Collective is all about.
Great. I sure will. Thanks for having me here, Greg, on your march to a million. Excited for you. Ultimately, I think that this podcast is about your march to a million. Is that accurate?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're really guiding, really sharing the path. And I think that's so important because there's not enough, I would say, entrepreneurs, business owners that are sharing the path as it happens, right? Usually it's like, oh, I'm here now. And I've been one who really has liked to share the path all along the way. Today, I am at 10 million. Well, I think we're about at a 13 million a year revenue run rate. And the first time that I hit a million in revenue was back in 2006. And since this is called March to a Million, I'll just mention that there was never a year that my ecosystem didn't bring in a million in revenue since 2006, even in the year that I filed bankruptcy. And we can certainly talk more about that if that's interesting. But ultimately, all of that was leading to what is true now, Eyes Wide Open Collective, which is a collective of legal and financial education companies that are all in service to bringing forward a new model for legal, insurance, financial, and tax planning, or what I call LIFT, and serving people, really the mass affluent and the high net worth folks. So that's 45 million people here in the United States that I believe under our current models really can't get good advice, good lift advice. So it's very difficult for people to get lifted when lawyers are selling documents, insurance people are selling products for commissions, financial advisors are selling investment advice based on getting as much assets under management and getting paid to put people in the stock market. In fact, I just got a quote from a new CPA we're considering working with. We're an advisory client. We need tax advice. I have like 10 returns that need to be filed. And they gave me my fee quote based on the number of returns they're filing rather than on the advisory. And they just throw in the advisory, right? The advisory is free, and it just highlights these broken incentive models that our lawyers, insurance professionals, financial advisors, and tax professionals have that makes it really difficult for the average person, mass affluent or high net worth, 100 to 500,000 of income, 1 million to 3 million of investable assets, or really up to ultra high net worth that can afford a family office to get good guidance because it's fragmented and the incentives are broken. So Eyes Wide Open Collective ultimately is in service to resolving that issue. Along the way, what do we need to do? We need to retrain lawyers. That's New Law. We need to educate families. That's Personal Family Lawyer, and business owners. That's Eyes Wide Open Life. And then eventually we're going to need to retrain the entire legal, insurance, financial, and tax block of advisors. That's lifted advisors, which is to come. All of that being part of Eyes Wide Open Collective. And one day when we look back, we'll say, okay, great. We solved the problems that make it almost impossible for people to get good advice by aligning the incentives of the advisors and their clients and ensuring that the advisors have a great model for supporting their clients to make eyes wide open decisions.
So that's what I really wanted to dig in a little bit with you on, because you and I both were about the same amount of time in the business here, and we both saw a problem back in the day. And my origin story basically is about 20 years ago now, when I saw the same type of issues that you're talking about. And that took me into my path where I ended up becoming, from being just a estate planning lawyer to being a financial planner, being a tax advisor, being the insurance advisor, being all of that, to bring all of that to the clients in a single point of responsibility, what you're building with Eyes Wide Open Collective. And now with WSN, the Wealth Solutions Network, I train other attorneys to do the same thing. And there is a marriage there with Eyes Wide Open and what you're doing there and what we're doing, in the sense that we are both training attorneys to look at the situation more expansively than the industry tells them to do. And your journey has been one of great success and challenges, as you are very open about. And what I wanted to dig in a little bit with you on what you have seen, because most of the people that listen to this program are attorneys that are considering, do we really want to step into this role of stewardship that the industry has essentially made us not do, because they've made us be scriveners of documents. So what have been your observations as you have started training over 1,000 people and trying to get them to be more comfortable with taking a role of asserting themselves as an estate planning lawyer, being more than just a producer of documents?
Yeah. So I would say in some ways you were ahead of the curve before I was, in that, on a one-to-one basis, you just moved right into financial services. I didn't do that. I did move into the business side of things, training lawyers on a new model for estate planning that went beyond the one-off transaction to ensuring that plans would actually work. And working with business owners, teaching them how to make what we call eyes wide open decisions, but not specifically about their investments or their life insurance, right? That's where we're going now.
Right.
What I can see is that the people who are wise are hungry for the holistic advisor model. They're hungry for it. The people who, are what we would call not problem aware, they don't even know that they want it, but once we tell them, they will want it, because they're obviously going to be able to see, oh, right, I can't get good advice right now. I'm not getting good advice. I'm getting sold documents or insurance products, or, getting put in the stock market, or being sold tax returns. It's fragmented. I'm not actually getting served by this fragmented, commodified reality. And a lot of that's going to be replaced by AI. And pretty quickly.
Yep.
Pretty quickly.
Yep.
So the way that I see it is that the wise advisor has to change their service delivery model, must change their service delivery model. And that doesn't necessarily start with the holistic model, because frankly, if people are going to use my holistic model, it's not fully developed yet. If they're going to use your holistic model, great. Maybe you've got the holistic model already. I think we're still developing it. But instead, and I don't know that the holistic model is actually the front door. I do believe that the right front door is, and I mean front door for the clients, is through whatever the client knows they have a need for, whether it is estate planning or tax advice or insurance advice or financial advice. I think that is the right front door. It's not the holistic model. And where the holistic model comes in is on the back end. And that is the wisest thing.
Yeah. So you and this is where I feel that there's alignment between what you are training attorneys to do, and when I'm speaking of taking more of a stewardship role with the clients, because it's being able to visualize yourself as being somebody that is not only dealing with the estate planning issue that brings that client before you at this point in time, but also feeling like you do have a obligation to that family to not just ignore my big bugaboo is when you and I started practicing law and we were sitting across the table from a family that had $1 million. We're talking AB trust so we could save 40% estate tax. And now across this country, day in and day out, attorneys are sitting across the table from families with $1 million in their IRAs and feel like they can't do anything to help preserve that value for that family. And so they'll just give them a will, trust, or whatever. Some of them don't even do that, right? Because they say, well, your beneficiary takes care of that. And now we as a profession need to reassert ourselves to say, wait a second, there are solutions to this. And I am being a guide for you to solve those problems. Now, whether or not you go to the extent that some of the members of WSN do, like myself, where you're actually licensed in all these things, we need to accept and promote that this is the role that we need to play as the estate planning attorneys, instead of just here are your documents. And that's where you and I are, I believe, perfectly aligned in our thoughts, because that's the decision that you came to 15 years ago as you started the personal family lawyer, that, hey, we're not just going to create this problem, these documents, and create a plan that's going to fail.
Yeah, to me, that's really the big challenge. And Greg, let me get clear here so that I know, because there's a lot of different people that could be listening to your podcast. Do you have a sense on who are the listeners? Are the listeners that are hearing us right now lawyers, financial advisors, insurance people, or clients of? Who listens to this podcast? Lawyers.
Probably people that listen to this podcast are lawyers that are trying to figure out, how do I make this work? How do I make an estate planning practice work in this new economy that we're dealing with things?
Well, it's an important question. Yeah. It is the critical question to be asking. And it is really, I would say, what we are answering at New Law in the same way, you're answering it through WSM. And I can just share what we are seeing through New Law and Personal Family Lawyer, which is that you've got to have a differentiated service model. So we call ours life and legacy planning. And that differentiated service model is the way that you serve your clients that differentiates you from cheap legal, AI, financial advisors flooding the space, legal insurance plans. That's your competition, right? You've got those 4 sources of competition, or just people doing nothing because they're overwhelmed with all the options. They're like, I'll just do nothing, procrastination. So that's where it starts, is that you've got to have a differentiated service model, either that you create your own or you adopt one that already exists. Ours is called life and legacy planning. And this differentiated service model is something that you're going to educate your community on, about why the people in your community need to work with somebody like you who offers this differentiated service model. And it can't just be words. It needs to be actually, for real, a differentiated service model that will ensure that your clients are not just getting a set of documents that they're going to take home, put on a shelf or in a drawer, and never look at again. Or maybe, they're going to contact you in the future because they have a life change, but instead you have built the systems and processes into your business And that's the key, is that you've built the systems and processes into your business such that they are not going to fall, victim to procrastination, their own procrastination, or your own lack of follow-up. But instead, they're going to be able to see that because you've created this business model, this system, this process that you use, they're going to be well held. They're going to not just put in place a set of documents that they never look at again, but instead those documents are going to be maintained throughout their life, and that you're going to be there for their loved ones when they can't be. And Greg, as you know, a big part of the differentiated service model is that it's not just the will, trust, healthcare directive, and power of attorney. It's really helping people to look at their assets, inventory those assets, make that asset inventory part of your intake and engagement structure so that whether they hire you or not, they're going to end up with clarity about what they have, because so many people don't even know what they have, right?
Yep.
They just don't. And so this is then where your add-on services of insurance and financial advisory really fit in so well, because once a client has gone through this full process of education, intake, engagement, they're saying yes to your differentiated service model, they are then hungry for you to just handle everything for them. They trust you now. So yes, they want you to sell them insurance. And it's not selling at that point. Like, it's not persuading or convincing. It's just serving. It's just like helping them make the right choices about what they need from an insurance and an investment and a tax standpoint. And if you have the back end deliverable on that, and you know how to do that, and you can help them make good choices because you've worked with Greg and he's taught you how to do that, now you're golden, because business is all about cost of acquisition and long-term value of the client. This is not how we have been taught to think about it as lawyers, right? It's like, okay, by the hour or one-time, fee, but this is all wrong. It's not good for them. It's not good for you. What you want to think about is, okay, how much does it cost me to acquire a customer? And then what is the lifetime value of that customer? Well, if you are only offering one-off transactions, and especially if you're only charging like $1,500, you're failing in every level. In every level, you're failing, and it's easily fixable. And it's not your fault, because literally this is how many lawyers are doing it. And it's because we're in this change, right? We're in this. You and I think we're very ahead of the curve. People are catching up now. So what you want to be thinking about, number one, is you want your upfront average fee to minimum 3 to 1, but I think really 10 to 1, 15 to 1, cover your acquisition cost if you can, right? Minimum 3 to 1. Then you've got the whole back end. Lawyers didn't think about the back end. Well, that's not true. Lawyers who were creating wills 20 years ago, they were thinking about the back end.
The probate.
The back end was the probate.
Yeah.
And how many lawyers? That was their business model. If you go talk to any, old lawyers, oh yeah, I've got all these probates that are going to come in because I know. And they're like, oh, probate is fine. Yeah, it's fine for you, the lawyer, but it's really not fine for the client and their family. Even if you live in a probate friendly state, I really hate that, because the court process isn't friendly for the consumers. It's just not for the families.
Yeah.
It might be friendly for you. So the new back end, the better back end, the more win-win back end, the back end that's really aligned, is you help them buy insurance wisely. You help them with their investments wisely. You help them with their tax decisions wisely. Now, does that mean you need to be an insurance agent and a financial advisor and a CPA? No, you could be some or all or none of those, depending on what you want. You can just help people to look at what they have regularly, which is a big deal, and then bring in the right people for insurance and financial guidance and tax guidance. And now you become what I call a lifted advisor. And then if you do that well, and you have the systems and processes to make sure that their plan stays up to date, that they're reviewing their asset inventory, that you're getting to know them over time and getting to know their family over time, and you have the right billing model for that, then is the family going to come to you for the administration? Of course. And administration is very lucrative, especially when you have good systems for it. And it's really valuable to the family because then they don't have to be in the court process. Or if they do, you make it really easy. And now you're really becoming a lifetime trusted advisor.
So the holy grail, whether you're coming at it from from the people I work with in the financial industry or the people in the insurance industry, everybody wants to have that title. But, and all comments aside about, how untrustworthy lawyers are, all kinds of with used car salesmen, we are right there with the accountants as the only professionals that these people deal with that can really take that role. And, I know a lot of people, when they start considering whether or not to add on the adjunct services of finance or insurance or whatever, they're concerned about losing that because now we get commission or whatever from the other sources. And I to some extent, I'm sure you'd agree that as long as you're coming always from that servant perspective, and you're looking to be that lifetime guide of the family, then you don't get commission breath. You don't become a salesman. You don't get all of that bad sales training that pushes you into the dark side.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that the challenge, Greg, is that lawyers don't know how to price their services in such a way where they're not coming from an underlying scarcity paradigm, such that the pull to the dark side, like they know it's there and they don't want to do that. I think most lawyers are, especially lawyers in the world of estate planning, are really good people, big hearts. That's why they're getting into estate planning, and can sense that maybe there's something off, but they don't know what it is, and they don't know how to trust themselves to make good decisions around, can I take commissions? Am I doing what's in the best interest of my client? Am I being guided by the insurance field to not do the right thing by my client? Do I really understand it all enough to know that I'm ensuring that my clients are doing the right thing? I think that these are some of the challenges that lawyers face. And I think this is why I really like the combo of our two organizations, because we can train lawyers on the right pricing model for their legal services, for their estate planning, help get people in the door for estate planning, educate their communities, position themselves in a new way. And then your piece is really helping them understand that back end on the insurance and the financial services in a way I think that can really give them the confidence to know, no, I'm doing the right thing by my clients, and I'm doing it in the right way, and I'm not violating ethics rules, and I'm not going to get sucked in to any bad decisions because of the scarcity paradigm.
Or as you've been calling it, financial dysmorphia, right?
Money dysmorphia. Yes, I'm writing a book. That'll be my next book. Will be Money Dysmorphia. Super excited about that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of share with the listeners, so the March to $1 Million in this context is my goal of 1 million people, and Ali is Ali is
1 million people.
She's trying to, she's going to eclipse me on that. I'm hopeful that she does, because there are so many people out there that need to be helped. But I got to my first $1 million in revenue by the strength of the financial services, and not my estate planning services. And when I joined Ali's group, that put some superchargers on my my estate planning practice, because I'm doing a lot of the things that you were just talking about. We don't need to be doing, and I had my own limiting beliefs on money that I had to fight through with my coaches, and as well as the coaches through new law. and it did substantially change my practice. So, if you're out there trying to figure a path forward,
Yeah.
and trying to decide how do I create this practice of the future, then kick the tires on new law, and she trains things that I have nowhere near the capacity to do. Because you've been doing this for what, 15 years? You've built out new law, and you've got all the training that's been going on for that.
Yeah, the very first thing that I ever trained lawyers in was how to engage clients back in 2006. I was just talking about this last night, how amazing it is that that's still alive and well. That was the very first training that I ever offered to lawyers, because I knew that most lawyers are meeting with people who then have to think about it, want to shop around, want to talk to their, financial advisor, whatever. They don't hire you in that first meeting. And that's a waste of their time and your time. And so I had created a whole model. And for me, the rejection wound was big. Like every time I met with someone and they didn't hire me, I felt rejected. And so I had to develop a whole system where I would get hired by, I used to say 97.5% of the people I met with. Our benchmark is actually a minimum of 80% of the people that you meet with. Many of our lawyers are doing 100% engagement because of this system. Average fees are $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. Can be a lot higher if you're including elder law, special needs. But the very first time that I ever trained on that was back in 2006, the end of 2006. Obviously, we've iterated many, many, many times over, because we're always proving, testing. We have about 700 lawyers right now that license our life and legacy planning model and use it to build their businesses as PFL firm leaders. And again, where we are taking this, and this is why Greg, I'm so glad you've been doing your piece again, which is this back end, where we are taking this is great. You learn how to engage clients, and then you serve them in this holistic model with the whole, lifted advisor, which means you need to decide, what are you going to offer on the insurance side, or how are you going to partner with insurance people? Either way, right? Greg has all the guidance on that. Same financial services, and same really on the tax piece. You don't have to do it all, but you do really want your clients to know you can help them make what we call eyes wide open decisions. And 20 years.
Been a run.
It's shocking. But in so many ways, Greg, as I was creating that, then I knew that there was going to be this time now where technology would catch up. I was using, CRMs and automation and all of that back in 2005 when it was brand new. And I knew it was just going to get better and better. And here we are. It's funny. We're still very behind the times in our industry. Absolutely. From a technological standpoint. But it's coming. It's all coming. And so the more that you can learn how to do the part that cannot be replaced by technology and by AI, the part that requires your heart, your humanity, your soul, this is what people are going to want and pay for ongoing. And then you're going to use technology. Now you've got a winning formula for the rest of your life.
That's a good place for us to leave. But before we leave, I always ask my fly on the wall to come back in here, Matt, because he's always got some insight that has been brewing over there, and some questions that help us take us home. But before I drop it over to Matt, if anybody does want to follow up with you, Ali, with regard to new law, eyes wide open, what have you, I know you're ubiquitous in LinkedIn. I used that word the right way, didn't I, Matt? Ubiquitous? Is that
No, I don't really think ubiquitous is the right word, but I think we know what you're talking about. She is omnipresent and ever present on LinkedIn. I was actually checking out her LinkedIn profile while I was off camera. So
yes, you can find me for sure on LinkedIn, but really the best way is, if you're a lawyer, it's newlawbusinessmodel.com. If you happen to be listening and you're not a lawyer and you're looking to work with a personal family lawyer firm leader, then I would say, yeah, come find me on LinkedIn and ask me when my next training is. I do webinar trainings now. This is new, so that we can help people make good decisions for themselves and then connect them with the right advisor, personal family lawyer. But if you are a lawyer, newlawbusinessmodel.com is the place to go. And yeah, once we get you trained up on how to engage clients and serve those clients with life and legacy planning, then it's time for you to work with Greg and add on those insurance and financial services so that you have that, holistic advisor model that really your clients want.
So I've just got a couple of quick things, and I'm going to touch on the last thing that you just said there, Ali, and then I'm going to rewind just a smidge. But the idea of being irreplaceable is something I think a lot of experts really need to pay a lot of attention to, because a lot of this stuff is going to be outsourced to artificial intelligence or really good systems and processes. But what AI is never going to be able to replace is you as the human. And I think that's what I felt from both of you. I feel from Greg all the time. We've been doing this podcast for a while, but Ali, I felt that from you too, that there's a level of connectivity that you are able to bring to the relationship and also teach other attorneys how to bring that connectivity that makes a huge, huge difference. So there's point number one. Point number two is this is how business should work. So it's going to be dorky here for a minute, so just bear with me, right? When you've got, two experts who have compatible systems and programs that can go ahead and work together and become something much greater. So, they go through Ali, they go through your program, and then they go through Greg's program with March to a Million. And all of a sudden, we're creating a workforce of unbelievably trained and educated, versatile attorneys who can really do what we need them to do in the marketplace. And I think that's freaking cool. So, yeah. All right. Well, we're going to make sure that we have all of your links, Ali, in the show notes for this podcast specifically. And of course, Greg, we'll make sure that we have yours too. But listen, if you really want to truly make a fundamental difference within your law practice, this was the podcast for you to listen to. If you know an attorney who you've talked about these things, please make sure that you share this with your fellow attorneys. And of course, help us with our March to a Million. So for Greg and for Ali, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you the other side of the mic very soon.
Thank you for listening to the March to a Million podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available, and get in touch with our team by visiting our website at www.wealthsolutionsgroup.biz, or give us a call at 614-432-8065. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Wealth Solutions Network. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice from qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have.